The town of Black Hollow was surrounded by a dense forest known as shadow pines. For generations, the locals told tales of people who entered the woods and never returned or emerged changed, haunted by something unseen. Despite the warnings, 5 friends decided to challenge the myths one autumn evening. Emma, Jake, Sam, Mia, and Lucas were thrill seekers who thrived on adrenaline, and they believed the stories were nothing more than campfire tales. "Come on, it's just trees," Jake had said as they planned the hike. "What's the worst that could happen?" With flashlights in hand and the bravado of youth, they entered the woods at dusk. The first hour passed uneventfully, the group's laughter and banter filling the air. The forest seemed ordinary, with the scent of pine and earth hanging heavy. Panic set in. Emma tried to keep everyone calm, but the whispers, now sounding like hundreds of voices speaking in unison, grew louder. The giggles returned, accompanied by faint sobbing. Then came the footsteps. "Did you hear that?" Sam asked, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. "We need to run," Emma said firmly. They bolted, darting through the trees without any sense of direction. The footsteps followed, heavy and deliberate, yet they saw no one. Branches snagged at their clothes and the air grew thick, making it harder to breathe. Mia tripped and screamed, her flashlight tumbling to the ground. Lucas helped her up, but when she looked at him, her eyes widened in terror. "Behind you!" she shrieked. He spun around, but there was nothing there. Yet the feeling of being watched was suffocating. Shapes moved in the darkness, just beyond their vision. Eyes glinted momentarily before vanishing. They regrouped and kept running, their lungs burning and legs aching. The forest seemed endless, each turn leading them deeper into its clutches. Finally, they stumbled into a small clearing. In the center stood an ancient, gnarled tree. Hanging from its branches were dozens of crude wooden effigies, swaying despite the still air. "What is this place?" Sam asked, his voice quivering. Before anyone could answer, the whispers stopped. The silence was deafening, oppressive. Then from the shadows, a figure emerged. It was tall and gaunt, its skin pale and stretched tight over its skeletal frame. Its hollow eyes glowed faintly, and its mouth twisted into a grotesque grin. "You've come far," it rasped, its voice like dry leaves crunching underfoot. "But this is where it ends." The friends froze, paralyzed by fear. The figure raised a bony hand, and the forest seemed to come alive. Roots erupted from the ground, wrapping around their ankles and pulling them toward the ancient tree. They screamed and struggled, but the roots were unyielding. As they were dragged closer, the effigies began to burn, their flames casting eerie shadows across the clearing. The whispers returned, louder than ever, now sounding like a chant. The figure stepped closer, its hollow eyes locking onto each of them in turn. "You should have stayed away," it said, its voice echoing in their minds. "The forest takes what it's owed." The last thing they saw was the tree's massive trunk splitting open, revealing a gaping maw of darkness. One by one, they were pulled in, their screams swallowed by the void. By morning, the forest was silent once more. The effigies hung unburned, the clearing undisturbed. Shadow Pines stood as it always had, waiting for the next foolish souls to enter its depths. The friends were never seen again, but sometimes hikers claimed to hear their voices, faint whispers carried on the wind, pleading for help that would never come.